Okay, this is going to help somebody if you have a P2002 code. It says diesel particulate filter efficiency or something like that. P2002 code. I got that check engine light the other day, and I noticed, I think like last week or something, it's like I could smell exhaust, but I was thinking that was coming from other vehicles. And so I didn't think anything of it because I didn't have any check engine codes. Truck's running fine. I mean, the truck was still running fine when I got the code a few days ago. And so I put my computer on it and I cleared the code just to see if it would come back. It didn't come back. Even now the code didn't come back, but it's stored permanently, which lets me know that it hasn't cleared itself out of the system yet. And so what I did is put the truck up on jack stands, and I found another issue as well, which I'm going to share. But first, let me get to the code first. So I put the truck up on jack stands, and I'm going to show you. I examined the filter. I went all the way down, examining the filter, all the way down there, looking for any types of leaks, or maybe I had loose brackets or something like that, and I didn't have any loose brackets or anything. When I got up here, because when I replaced the turbo, for those that saw the video, when I replaced the turbo, I replaced the knock sensor, and I cleaned all of this out, the elbow up there, this elbow right here, I cleaned that, and I took all of this apart, and I pressure washed all of this out, and I put a brand new DPF filter on. So the DPF filter, along with all the before pressure sensor and the after differential pressure sensor, all of that's replaced, right? So I said, well, let me look and inspect for any cracks or leaks. And if you look up here, I don't know if I can zoom in, if you can see the video cut, but if you can see right here without that light, I don't know if it'll show. Okay, if you can see on this side of this bracket here, do you see how dusty the soot dust and everything, this bolt, everything is? That's not supposed to be like that. So if you look here, you can see another soot that's seeping here. So this is where the exhaust issue is coming from, where the pressure is giving me an exhaust leak here, and that is what has led to that P202. So what I'm going to do is I can loosen this from this wheel well. I'm going to take this whole wheel well off over here. I'm going to take that whole wheel well off, and then I'll do all of that from above ground. And then another thing that I found while just inspecting the engine compartment, so this is where this is going to be. I'll take that off and reclamp that tighter, reposition it, make sure that's clamped down with no leaks, even tighter. I'll show you what else I found. And so when I open the hood, just to start inspecting stuff, you see this, how this looks here? Looks, it's dirt, right? But still, you see these little spots and how it looks all up there, all those little spots on the box and everything. That made me feel like there was some type of liquid or some type of vapors under the hood when it gets hot. So I started looking at my EGR coolers and the hoses and coolant hoses. Then I came up here and started inspecting. And then I looked down there and looked at the water pump, and boom, you see the water pump? Can you see the water pump? That's the water pump right there. That's rusted. See right there? Let me see, I think I can make this longer. See? That right there. Right there. That's the water pump. Alright? Now, take a look. If I can get the camera shining the right way. Okay, you see? That right there is wet. right? I can't even position the camera where you can see all around there, but if you can, anyway, I can't get the camera position, but it's wet all on both sides, so that tells me that water pump has failed, right? And it needs to come off. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that water pump off and go and put a new one on, and that requires me just taking this stuff out of the way, so I can access it. I can I've got to loosen this belt and then put the belt back on again, but I'll do all that once I get some of this stuff out of the way. It's not that hard to change that water pump at all. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. Simple stuff. Okay, so what I did was I just took this wheel weld off, and I'm glad, you know what, I had to take this off anyway, because I'm gonna have to drain that coolant, and it makes it so much easier with this wheel well, with all of this area right here clear. Instead of me draining the coolant from the radiator, I could just drain it right here, and then I'm not gonna buy any coolant because this coolant is not old. I'll reuse the coolant that I have, and then I've got a strainer that I can just pour back into the reservoir up here. But anyway, going back to this P2002 code, I believe this is my problem right here. And the reason I believe that, like I said, because I showed you guys where the soot, you can see the soot coming out right here. And then when I went to pull this band, look at that. See how this band moves? That tells you what is loose. It's not as tight as it should be. So the problem may not be in the band. Problem be maybe in me not having it that tight, because I thought it was maxed out, but it actually can go more. So let's see. I felt all around there to make sure everything is sitting even. But the fact that the soot is here on this side, like if I were to spin this further around, can I spin this further around? Like if I spin this further around, I see the soot in the areas that are flexible, which lets me know that this is where the exhaust leak is coming from. So this is not a serious issue. See that right there? See how loose that is? So that was when I put it back together. I didn't tighten it as much, and so it probably had that for a while. And as it starts to build up and fill up, this new DPF filter, as the front of the face of that filter start to fill up with the seepage here, it's probably trying to go into a regen, and is noticing it's getting a clog or whatever the reason is. I believe this is what set that code off. So I'm just going to tighten this up some more, as tight as I can get it, and then I'll leave this alone. And that other issue that I found, the water pump that's leaking, I caught it quite early, because those water pumps can go bad and actually rip apart and cause a lot of damage. It could damage the fan. Actually, this wasn't that tight. Look how much it's going even more. I didn't know that, so this is my fault. This is where the leak was coming from, and that's what I was smelling. So anyway, I think this is going to take care of that issue. I'm going to put the phone down now so I can tighten it even tighter, and then I'll drain it. I think I showed how to replace the water pump before on another video. I don't know what it's titled, because when I replaced the alternator and the pulley, I think last year sometime. So a video was about a year ago. I think around May of last year, I replaced that alternator. And then being that I was replacing the alternator and I had to take the belt off anyway, I showed how I replaced the belt and the tensioner pulley and the other pulleys that run the belt and the alternator. But I forgot the title of the video. So anyway, I guess this will branch off into replacing a water pump. I can show all of that as I get it done. So anyway, P202, if you have that code, check your exhaust first to make sure you have no exhaust leaks. And if you have a computer, you can also put a computer on it and put it into a manual regen, but I wouldn't do that first until I visually inspect the whole exhaust from the right here from the turbo all the way back down to the tailpipe. And you can do that by simply looking to see if you have any leakage of soot, just like that. That's going to show you signs of an exhaust leak right there. And so the clamp needs to be tighter, and sometimes you may have a puncture or something like that. If you do, then you can replace that portion that needs to be replaced. But this is all that was causing me smelling this exhaust, this leak right here. And with me tightening this up, once I drive, if I have any further issues, then I can start checking that. The next thing will be to check the sensor. But see, that sensor is a brand new sensor. All of this was put on earlier this year, so it's a brand new sensor, brand new DEF. But sometimes things they are defective, but the computer should be able to tell us that if we have that issue. And when we put it on a forced regen, once we make sure that there's no exhaust, like all the exhaust there's no exhaust leak, and then we put it in a forced regen, sometimes that probably will also clear up an issue like P2002, right? And so here was my issue right here. I was able to even physically move this band by hand, and I thought it was maxed out, but clearly it wasn't. I guess I don't know why I didn't tighten that far up. I don't know if I I thought I was coming back to it. I don't know what I was thinking. I have to even go back to the video myself, because I think I shared it when I did it on here. But this right here is tight. It cannot move anymore. There's no more play. There's no more play. I'm just making sure this one is as tight as well, being that I'm back here. Yep. So that tightened up a pretty good penny, and I believe that issue is now resolved. On to the next. Okay, replacing the water pump. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this breather box out of the way, and that will allow me to, and I'm going to take these two bolts. There's two, I think this is, let's see, 12 millimeter. I don't know if this is 12 or 13 millimeter, maybe 15 millimeter. Let's see. Oh, 13. Yeah, this is 13 millimeter. So there's two 13 millimeter bolts here that hold the back of the fan cover. And what I normally do is just loosen both of these bolts on both sides, and then there's two at the bottom. Loosen those, because once you loosen them, that'll allow you to flex. This cover can flex all the way back if you need to push your hand in here. And then I'm going to take this breather box, this entire box, out of the way. This is held in right here too by I don't know if that's a 13 millimeter as well. Let's see. Yeah, but you need a socket to get this one. Well, from this angle here. Yeah, this is a 13 millimeter as well. You get it right here from this side. So, and it's just snaps in. So I'm gonna loosen this and with the flathead, and then take that bolt out, loosen this plug here. It just pops up, and then you just snap it out. This is the map sensor. Sometimes you can get codes too if this map sensor goes bad, but I have never replaced it. So now I got those detached, and I'll just move those out of the way. With this breather box out of the way, once I move this breather box out of the way, I'll have enough room to slide my hand down there and loosen those bolts. I think those are 10 millimeter, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think those are two 10 millimeter bolts that hold on the water pump. And I'll be able to slide my hand down there and loosen those bolts. So on the side of the box, there's also another sensor there. You want to be mindful of to loose that one as well, because you'll be pulling, trying to get the box off, and you won't get it out. Always cover the breather up, because the last thing you want is something dropping down in here and damaging your turbo. You know, this runs to the turbo, so I normally always clog this up with a paper towel, a heavy-duty paper towel, or a plastic bag or something when I'm not disconnecting the whole thing. And see, that way nothing can go shooting down in there, right? Now look at all of this room. You see here, I have access to get to the water pump. I can get to that 10 millimeter bolt there, and then the other bolt, I gotta fill it by hand. I feel the other bolt. So all I got to do, I'll get the tensioner. I'll get my, I think this is a 1/2 inch, put it in this tensioner and apply a little pressure to the tensioner, loosen this belt. And I'm going to try not to loosen it off of everything, but when you're taking this off, you want to pull up the diaphragm, or you want to try to take as many pictures as you can so you can put your belt back on exactly how it goes, right? And so with being that this tensioner is not coming off, and I'm not replacing all that stuff this time, it's not going to be that difficult because everything's going to kind of just stay in place. I'm just going to take this belt off of the water pump and maybe just try to see if I can slide it up someplace, or I may move it off of the water pump and the alternator and just see if I could just maybe let it hang or something like that. So that's it. All right, got the bucket set up. I've got my hose clamp. This is an automatic hose clamp. It works so good. And holding it, it locks. This is a locking hose clamp. It's like, it's long too. It's an extended one, so I can put it on this hose clamp and lock it as I let the water out. I mean, the coolant out, and that works good for me. Okay, now where's my camera turned like that, sideways? Anyway, now I've got my 10mm ratcheting wrench. See that bottom bolt there? I have not taken the pressure off of the water pump yet. I'm just going to I'm gonna get this bottom bolt broken loose first. I'm using the camera. I'm using this camera as I'm recording to actually see. It might be better if I put it on this side. There we go. Is that a 10mm bolt? It might not be a 10mm bolt. Let me see. Wait a minute, let me put it. Okay, yes, that is a 10mm bolt. Now, this wrench is going to be not needed because it's a little too long. So, I will get this out of the way and use it on. Come on. Why is this ratchet so difficult to get back out of there? Alright, so I've got this my pulley hooked up. So what I do is apply a little pressure, and you see how that belt loosen up? Right, so when I put pressure here, right, up on it, boom. See how that gives me play in the belt? So I'm gonna put the phone down for a second, where I can I'll put the phone right here. I don't know if I can put it where you can see, but let me put it down and loosen the belt. Okay, so all I didn't loosen the belt all the way from all the other pulleys. I just loosened it right here off of the alternator, and then that takes the pressure off of the water pump. And this water pump is leaking, so I've got a warranty on this. I'm just going to take it. They've already got me one in stock, and I'm going to take this towel here, because when I loosen it, water coolant is going to come out of there. So I'm going to put the phone down so that I can try to place this towel up under there without actually shifting that belt too far out of place, right? No, I don't need to put the phone down, actually. I've got it right here. So that's good. Now I'm just going to loosen the belt. I'm just going to loosen the bolts. I mean, I think I said belt, but I meant bolts. And see this bottom bolt? I've got that one. I've already drained the coolant out, but I don't know if you can see here on that bottom bolt is loosened so much, so now I can finish taking it out by hand. I'll zoom on my camera going there. Okay, there we go. Good grip on it. So I'll set that over there for the bottom, and I'll put them in the same spots they came out of. Let me see if I can loosen the top one by hand. Not yet. I've got to finish loosening up the ratchet a little bit. Alright, now I'm loosening this top one, just spinning it out by hand. They don't have a lot of there's not a lot of torque on these bolts, and so when you put it back in, you do not want to put a lot of torque on it. You want to use a little small wrench to tighten it down, because that small little wrench, the less torque. Longer the wrench, you'll be putting a lot of torque on it and you won't even know it, right? So let's see if this is going to gush out water. I've got the truck kind of jacked up, so no water should come out. No coolant, my bad. I mean, some is going to come, but not, shouldn't come gushing. You see there? It's just that simple to, let me move this fan plug. I probably got to put the phone down to maneuver it, because I'm using one hand. Alright. So now I got to maneuver this thing up on out of there. Oh. I probably have to move that. No, I got it right here. Not that difficult. See here? So, this is a water pump, and this is what has failed. The little bearings on the inside of here. It starts to leak. Just gonna go and get another one. I should have left my original one on there to see how it would have go, but I thought I was just trying to do preventive maintenance last year. I think in the video I shared how I was replacing the alternator, the pulleys, and all of that stuff. And so I just went ahead and put a new water pump on since it was right there. And I think at that time the truck had, it was less than 500,000 miles. It had way over 400,000 miles. And I was like, oh, it won't hurt if I put a new water pump on. And then boom, now you see the next day. Because I've heard people say Ram has an issue with these water pumps, you know, not lasting long because of the mechanism inside, how they're made. Well, my original stock water pump was on there, and I didn't have any issues on it. I think they had a recall some years ago when I first got the truck. They put a new water pump and stuff on, so it wouldn't actually technically have had 400,000 miles. It probably would have had a little over 300,000, but still yet, I've never had an issue with my water pump until now, the year after I put a new one on. So it ain't made that strong. And you see all this gunk down there. So that was and all up in here, like this stuff right here. When I see that, that tells me like there's some vaporage underneath the hood. And that was all coming from the steams of this here leaky water pump. But it wasn't bad. I caught it just in time, right? So I just want to try to clean that up from around there, all that gunk and stuff like that. So therefore, when I put the new one on, get all that water in there. When I put the new one on, that coolant in there, there's dirt in it. Where's my little napkin? If I can absorb some of that coolant out of that. But anyway, when I put the new one on, I don't want to think that it's leaking because I didn't clean around here that well. So let me go get the new one, compare it, and come back and put it on and top off the fluid. And I may get to it. I got to get to my last Cairo session is today. They close at 4 today. So it's just about 1. I want to be done by 2:30. So let me go pick up the new water pump. Okay, I've got this new water pump, and I checked it out in the store. I compared it with the old one. It's the exact same. I've already put the gasket in. I'm just going to throw it in and over there. Put this box out of the way. So let me see. I'm going to need to put the phone down so I can get it to hold in place. Let me put this down. Okay, I've got the bottom bolt in. I just tightened it by hand, and then now I'm gonna put the top one in and tighten this one by hand. Find the hole. There you go. I've got it in the hole. And now I'm just going to tighten these bad boys down. Okay, now I got it bolted back up. All I got to do now is put this belt just back like it was. It didn't even slide all the way out of place. See, so all I got to do now is get tension, slide it back up on the alternator, and I didn't even have to loosen it. And I didn't even really need to loosen these two bolts up here. I thought I was gonna have to flex this. The very first time I did, I had to flex everything because I was replacing a lot of stuff. But just replacing this, I didn't even need to loosen these two nuts. But let me put this tension belt back on. You see this here where this cord for the fan, it just rests right here on this water pump. And this water pump, I don't like it because when it spins, obviously it's sitting right there on that. So what I'm gonna do is let me see, I'm gonna take a zip tie and just put it around this plug here and just zip it to this bracket so that way it sits up off of the water pump. That'll just give me a peace of mind. See how that doesn't sit on there now? And so now all I gotta do now is got the belt and everything back on. Put this nut back here. I'll put the breather box back in place, and then I'll start adding the coolant back on. 13mm bolt, and then you just have to bleed the air out of the system. And how you can do that is well, I'll show you rather than telling you. Everything is back in place. The bolts, the breather box, tighten this back up, put all the sensors back, connect back all the sensors. Now this is the easy part. I get to add some fluid. So we're going to use this funnel here, and let's see. This funnel has a strainer in it, right? And I've already wiped it out, so that makes it a lot better. I'm gonna move this cord out of the way so I can sit that right in there. All right, now I'm gonna re-add the fluid. I've already topped up the fluid, but it's the reservoir is full, but it still gotta pressurize and suck through the system. So what I'm gonna do is I'll move this out of the way. I'm gonna, oh shucks, excuse me, booka. I'll move this out of the way, and then I'll add the cap back. I need to just take off the glove, period, right? Let me just take off this glove. And so I'll put this top back on so the system can pressurize on its own. Okay, and now I will crank her up. Okay, I got her cranked up. No check engine lights are on. We got to get up to operating temperature. Coolant has already pressurized, so taking this top back off and I'll now add more coolant. And what I'm gonna do while I'm sitting here, I'll go ahead and I've already topped the coolant reservoir back off again, see? So it's gonna pressurize and suck more, gonna continue to suck more coolant as the thermostat opens and the truck gets the normal operating temperatures. And then I'll add exactly that, what I took out, right? So I'll add this tire while I'm waiting on the truck to reach normal operating temperatures. And I'm gonna look over here at the water pump. Oh, sorry, baby. There are no leaks. No more leaks. Alright? And everything is spinning just fine. Alright? So I'll give it a test drive to test the exhaust leak. But let me go ahead and get this tire back on. Okay, I have already topped this off, coolant reservoir off 3 times. And then what I've done is, this is the highest point of the cooling system. So I loosen this bolt right here. I loosen this top bolt and let air bleed out of the system from the top as well. There was a lot coming out at one time. Now the coolant just runs. See how it just runs freely? It just runs freely. Don't know if you can hear me or not. I stopped on the side of the road, but see how the coolant, it just runs like a small stream flowing of coolant. There's no bubbles or anything in the coolant anymore. So that means the air is out of the system and we're all good to go. We've already bleed the air out of the system. I'm going to tighten this bolt back up and that's it. So that's the end of the video. It ended up being for my P2002 code DPF filter. I forgot what the code was, but I'll look it up and add it for the title. It was just that exhaust bolt. The bracket on the exhaust was loose, and so the system had an exhaust leak. I didn't get any more codes. The code that was in there is gone, and I ended up seeing where my water pump was leaking, so I ended up changing the water pump unexpectedly. But I didn't have to come with the lifetime warranty, so that's all done, and that's it, right? So I hope this was able to help somebody. Y'all have a blessed day.